and SmackDown have come and gone. Let's see who's up.
Yes! Yes!
And who's down.
No! No!
In this week's Busted Open WWE Power Rankings.
All right, Bully, a couple of things. First of all, last week, I got a lot of people, a lot of support from the Busted Open Nation backing me up on my power rankings last week. So I say thank you to the nation. And for those who disagree, I thank you for disagreeing because you're all part of the nation and I love you all.
Ugh.
Number two, a lot of people bitching and complaining that, hey, LaGreca, you say it's your power rankings, but the little piece of audio that you play before the power rankings say the Busted Open power rankings. So they're saying it's not truly the LaGreca power rankings because the voiceover guy says it's the Busted Open power rankings. Let me tell you, it's the LaGreca power rankings, okay? I'm like Madonna. My name should be Busted Open at this point. I'm thinking about dropping my real name and just being called Busted Open. Hey, there's Busted Open. Hello, Busted Open. How are you today? Busted Open, may I help you? I'm thinking about going that route. It's a possibility. I'll see if I can do that legally.
Remember when Paulie tells Rocky, she's busted?
Paulie, that's your sister you're talking about.
She's busted. Some people are laughing as hard as you right now out there, but some people are like, what are they talking about? She's busted.
Oh, God, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right. All right, here we go. Number 5. This is a tough one for me, Bully. Because I got to be honest with you. I really wanted to put Seth Rollins at 5. And I know that you say that I use my bias, my personal bias when it comes to things. And that is true. And coming off that Raw, I didn't want to put anybody from Raw on the power rankings. Really, just disgusted by what I saw on Monday. But I'm going to be honest and true here. I couldn't put Seth Rollins on my power rankings this week. I understand he had a really good match with Dolph Ziggler. I understand he's your Intercontinental Champion. But here's the problem. It's a match that really didn't do anything for anybody that was watching because you've seen the match a million times before and you knew what the outcome was going to be. So I had to drop Seth Rollins at 5 and I put a guy who didn't even compete and wrestle, and I know you're probably going to give me a lot of flack for it, but I had to do it, and that's Samoa Joe. And we're going to get into this in hour number 3 today, Bully, but I loved what Samoa Joe did in that segment with Jeff Hardy. That tells you why Samoa Joe is one of the best heels in the WWE right now, and he's firmly at number 5 in my power rankings. At number 4 is a tag team. Because of the way tag teams are used in the WWE, they get overlooked. And I think they proved again why they are such a good tag team. And even though it was a non-title match, that win over the Bar last night, I think is very, very significant. And I think after that win, people might be putting a little bit more attention into the Usos than what they've had over the last 6-7 months. So the Usos at number 4. At number 3, Bully, and a lot of it had to do with what you said in hour number 1. And actually hearing it again from Alex Metz from WWE.com. At number 3, I have Charlotte. And she really did have one hell of a pay-per-view, one hell of a promo. And she's been amazing since the pay-per-view at Survivor Series a couple of weeks ago. And she's really gotten that crowd to turn. And she's gotten that crowd to be emotionally involved. Again, when you watch Monday night, there was nothing that got you emotionally involved. There's quite a few things last night that got you emotionally involved. And Charlotte is definitely one of them. At number 2, I have, and this is going to get a lot of people upset, and I kind of wavered back and forth, and that is Becky Lynch at number 2. And I was thinking of putting Becky Lynch at number 1, but I kind of changed the way I thought based on, Bully, what you said in our number 1. But still, she is the hottest thing going on in pro wrestling. She is the hottest thing in the WWE. She's still getting a monster crowd reaction. And even though Charlotte may have gotten the upper hand in that war of words, man, Becky still had a great promo. She is still hot, and she is still your SmackDown Women's Champion. And at number 1, and the reason I put her at number 1, Bully, is just based on the strength of not only what we saw last night on SmackDown, but where she's been since WrestleMania. And what a significant win for Asuka last night. And winning that Women's Battle Royal, you now perceive her, just from what we saw last night, back to being a main eventer again. So I have Asuka at number 1. So my power rankings for this week: Samoa Joe at 5, the Usos at 4, Charlotte at 3, Becky at 2, and Asuka at number 1.
All righty. Hold on to your butts. There are there's a lot of discrepancies here.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna take 2 and 3 first. You would have thought that after the first hour of the show, and as we broke things down, that you would have seen crystal clear how Charlotte outshined Becky last night. But once again, you're not isolating the weak. You're taking other things into account, especially your favoritism. Becky does not belong above Charlotte from last night. Charlotte clearly was the dominant female in that ring on that microphone. 2 and 3 should be flipped.
Okay.
I know why you put Asuka at 1. I'll give you Asuka 1. But how can you put Asuka at 1 and not even have Seth Rollins with a quality win on the list?
Can't do it.
Okay? I totally disagree. But I understand why Asuka's on your list. You know who's my number 1?
Who?
The guy that you thought I'd have a problem with. My number 1 this week is Samoa Joe.
Ooh.
Because Joe's promo was extremely strong. Joe's promo was real. Joe's promo didn't sound like a promo. Joe's promo sounded like he was talking to Jeff Hardy in a bar and telling him exactly how he felt about Jeff Hardy's substance abuse problems in the past. Joe's promo laid the foundation and the groundwork for what Joe and Jeff can do in the future. Joe did a tremendous job of getting very personal with AJ Styles. Last night, Joe did a tremendous job of getting personal with Jeff Hardy. And I think of all of the speaking that we heard on the 2 shows, Joe is by far the stronger speaker. So I got Joe at the top of my list.
Wow.
I'll put Asuka 2. I'll put Charlotte 3, Becky 4, and then you can determine whether you want to put Seth or the Usos at number 5.
At 5, okay. So you agree, for the most part, with who I have in my power rankings this week. You just would have done it differently as far as the rankings itself. And I just don't know how after our first hour conversation you could keep Becky ahead of Charlotte. Like, you're telling me how in awe you are of my analysis, and you're like, oh my God, you're so right. I never looked at it that way. And then when you have the opportunity to change your mind, you don't want to change your mind because, oh, I love Becky. I actually did change my mind, in all honesty. And Alex Metz will back me on this because I told him my power rankings before the show. Until you talked about Charlotte, I didn't even have Charlotte on my power rankings this week. I didn't even have her in the top 5. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but after hearing what you said in hour number 1, she went from not being on my power rankings at all to number 3. So I did listen to what you had to say because, again, I didn't even have her in my top 5 until you educated me in hour number 1.
Well, I should have educated you to number 2 because she was stronger than Becky. Not to say that Becky wasn't strong, but Becky wasn't as strong as she could have been last night, and Charlotte was.
And Asuka, and I'm wondering about this, Bully, in all seriousness, with that number 1, and with you have her at number 2, but still, Asuka hasn't been anywhere near these power rankings for quite some time. I'm hoping that this just doesn't lead to TLC, and then Asuka falls back down the card. And I hope they're just not trying to appease the crowd who are firmly behind Asuka for sure. They love Asuka. Do you think this is just for TLC, and once we get past that pay-per-view, that Asuka's going to be back where she was a couple of weeks ago?
I have zero clue why Asuka is in this match. What was the point of adding a third person to the match?
Well, I think it's because the gripe, rightfully so, with the rest of the roster about why is Charlotte once again getting an opportunity and nobody else on the roster is even getting a chance to be in that position.
So why didn't they just put Charlotte in the Battle Royal also?
I can't disagree with you. That's an excellent point.
What did Charlotte do that would make her the number 1 contender to Becky's championship?
The only thing is the ass beating she gave to Ronda, which
she got DQ'd.
She not only did she get DQ'd, she got fined by Paige. Wait a second.
So you go ahead.
No, you're making absolute sense. And when it comes to pro wrestling, sometimes that's a handicap. But you're right. Last week, she got undressed by Paige, or tried to get undressed by Paige, because I think Charlotte kind of smirked it off and walked it off.
You mean dressed down, not undressed.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Paige.
Of course you were.
Yeah, sorry about that. But they fined her $100,000. So after fining her $100,000, you're giving her a championship opportunity?
Exactly. It does not make logical sense. And what makes even less logical sense is putting the third person in. I would have had, if you wanted somebody to face Becky, I would have had Charlotte in that Battle Royal also. And then I would have put Charlotte over in that Battle Royal. And then I get Charlotte versus Becky. Now, who knows? Maybe they're going to go down a road that nobody sees coming. Maybe they have Asuka win. I don't know. I just know it feels like a major disconnect to me to have her in this match. I am an Asuka fan. I think they should be pushing her to the moon. I just don't know why they're putting her in this match. Becky versus Charlotte in a TLC match has main event written all over it. I don't want to see a third.
But again, maybe in this instance, you have Asuka. It just be Asuka and Becky Lynch at TLC. Why not?
I would be fine with that. Listen, I would be fine with that also. That's why I don't think. Listen, I think we can all agree that based on Charlotte's actions and the fact that she got fined, she should have never been rewarded.
I agree. And again, that added to the gripe that the rest of the roster has, saying, wait a second. Why is she getting this opportunity again? She's had multiple opportunities. She lost her match on the pay-per-view, and she was fined last week. And again, the rest of the roster is getting overlooked, and she's getting an opportunity. They're building on something here, but again, they could have built on that and given Asuka a one-on-one match with Becky Lynch. And again, that's a main event for a pay-per-view and doesn't steer away from what is their long-range plan, which is coming in April.